Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. And I appreciate the testimony.
Hopefully get a very brief answer.
You know, in the world of disclosure, I too work and have worked our company on nuclear facility outages, and I would say that, you know, our time on those outages exceeds that 4 to 6 weeks. You know, but I also am very concerned with the 2 plants at about 3 million man-hours apiece that have projects for natural gas that have been put on hold. You know, I appreciate the disclosure for the other bodies, and it's my understanding, you know, very respectful of your service to the nation, sir, but the Ridge Policy Group may have additional interests in
they're doing work with First Energy.
Yes, so as a former member of the Exelon board and you know, currently a client, but when you had mentioned the national, sir, when you had mentioned the national security complications, if the United States, and I do agree that's a federal issue, but if we receive 93% of our uranium from Russia, and Exelon, a company of which you sat on the board, has petitioned the federal government to be able to get their nuclear fuel from Russia, is it really in our best interests to take and limit the opportunity to use Pennsylvania fuel for that? And the second part of the concern for the First Energy side is Exelon has disclosed that their intention is to store their nuclear waste on site and their spent fuel in a independent spent fuel storage facility, is that which will be held on site until 2073. Is it First Energy intention to store that energy on site as well?
Representative Nelson, the time's expired for this panel. We're going to let the panel answer the question.
If I could.
Go ahead.
First of all, I appreciate the fact that you are sensitive to those who testify at any time before any committee on any issue may have interest. So let's be very clear. I was proud to serve on the board of Exelon, but my views with regard to nuclear energy and its importance to Pennsylvania and the country were formed long before I joined the board, else I wouldn't have accepted the invitation. First Energy is clearly a client of the Ridge Policy Group. We don't apologize for it. We believe in its possibility.
They're a great company. Absolutely.
So I just want to make that very clear. I don't back away from that, and I think it's a very appropriate question, by the way. Secondly, you know, we don't have uranium deposits in Pennsylvania, so we're not going to be mining for them here. I think we only get 7%. Your information is pretty correct. I think we get 70% of uranium from domestic sources, but I think a large measure of it comes from our friends in Canada, not Russia. Now, admittedly, Russia has quite a bit of uranium, but notice how they've used natural gas as a weapon as they try to deal with monopoly, as they try to deal with Western Europe, Ukraine, and Eastern Europe. So I have the interest that I have, the legacy that I have. There is no uranium in Pennsylvania to be mined, and I think we get the majority of it from our friends in Canada, and that's a great relationship. And for all that's a border that I think is, and a relationship I think is worth keeping, because I think it's a great value to us as a country. And nuclear energy is a great asset for this country, and we can't let it go. And to the question that was earlier asked, I wish the federal government would get its act together on this and other issues. They haven't, and until they do, the states have to act. That's why it's such an important public policy question, and that's why, Chairman Roy, I thank you, Chairman Roy, for taking it on in such an ambitious way. Thank you very much.
Representative Nelson, for a brief question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, very brief question, and I would appreciate the follow-up. I know we ran out of time last session, so we did not get to hear First Energy's plan for, in the event of closure, where they may be storing their nuclear waste, as Exelon has disclosed. My question for the panel is, if we look at other states nationally, in Illinois that had done a bailout once, they now just passed a second bailout out of subcommittee, you know, so they're back going through that process. In earlier testimony, you talked about our goal as a state, and I think in a bipartisan effort, our goal is jobs and manufacturing opportunity to, you know, to keep our state flourishing. Can you touch on the consequence of increased energy prices on manufacturing, such as steel and the potential plastics that we're searching for?
All right. I mean, I'll give it a shot, and I'm sure Kevin, on behalf of the chamber, has some thoughts. But, one of the more, frustrating aspects of the discussion is Pennsylvania is so well positioned right now, and it's for the very points you raised. Other states have made some policy mistakes that are causing their rates to go up. I look at New Jersey, and I've been in battles in New Jersey for a couple years, actually going back to 2011. I mean, their rates are now about 35% above Pennsylvania. It's largely because of policy decisions than Pennsylvania, largely because of policy decisions they made. Pennsylvania is well poised in the region to really be, a home for low-priced electricity if we continue on the path of competitive markets, if we continue to allow these markets to work as intended. So, I mean, I absolutely agree with you. Electricity inputs are a very important part of any business's decision, and having the ability to have low-cost rates combined with the ability to choose, because there are also many, many companies that are voluntarily choosing to go 100% renewable or pay a little bit more in order to get that service. And that's a great thing. We want to encourage that. Consumers should be driving this marketplace. And guess what? If consumers demand, certain things, the industry is going to respond. That's the way these things work. I mean, Todd's members are they're already looking at many ways to eliminate carbon from, their processing. There is great progress happening if we allow the market to continue to provide the innovation that the market can provide. And I worry greatly that House Bill 11 represents a tremendous step backward from that policy. But go ahead, Kevin. I'm sorry.
Thanks, Glenn. Thanks for the question, Representative. And just to reiterate, yes, as folks look to Pennsylvania, difficult tax climate, but our energy resources and workforce are a reason they're looking here. Electricity inputs, that's a big marker on the evaluation criteria for new sites. And if we take a step backwards, it's only going to disadvantage us further. We're already in the mid-30s on job creation. I wouldn't want to see us fall any further behind. Further existing facilities, this is a pretty big sticker shock for them as they evaluate, are we going to invest in our facility or go somewhere in the south or somewhere overseas? And there's an economic and environmental consequence to that as well.